Welcome to my views and news. Today I got some time to share with you my views on the efforts by Amhara groups to remove the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, PM Abiy. Can these Amhara groups remove the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, PM Abiy? Which strategies are being adopted by these groups? And is there any possibility of the removal of the Prime Minister by these groups? When I say Amhara groups, I mean the dissidents, the armed groups in the Amhara region, Amhara diaspora as well. It is their stated objective that they want to remove the Prime Minister. So I'm not making any assumptions. We have seen that in their statements, in their protests, they have been saying that they want to remove the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, PM Abiy. And by the way, same was the objective of Tigray fighters as well. A few months ago, they were calling the Prime Minister genocider. They wanted to reach Addis Ababa, they wanted to remove the government, but now they are hand in glove with the government. Now, which strategies are being adopted by the groups based in the Amhara region, Amhara diaspora, to remove the Prime Minister? Firstly, economy viewers, we are seeing that a campaign is underway by Amhara diaspora to weaken the Ethiopian government economically. They think that weakening the government, federal government, means weakening the Prime Minister. So they are opposing release of loans and grants for Ethiopian government. They are trying to do lobbying. They are meeting with diplomats, foreign dignitaries, and they are trying to ensure that Ethiopia does not get anything from abroad. At the same time, campaign is underway to stop remittances from Amhara diaspora to Ethiopia. So their first area of operations is economy. But here I don't see the chances of success. Why? Because the government will be forced to make tough decisions. It will transfer the burden of economic crisis to the people. Elite won't suffer, people will suffer. Government will not collapse. We have seen Eritrea surviving with almost no industry. So Ethiopia can survive as well, but people will suffer, people of Ethiopia. So I don't see the possibility of removal of the Prime Minister through economic blockade. But strategy is being adopted by the diaspora mainly. They want to cripple the government. They want to cripple Ethiopian federal government, Ethiopian economy. Second, viewers, Addis Ababa could be used. I talked to a few people who say that Addis Ababa has large Amhara population. And if somehow this population turns against the government will be paralyzed. That is why perhaps we saw that Ethiopian security institutions complained that an effort was being made to by some groups from the Amhara region to penetrate Addis Ababa, and weapons and trained fighters from the Amhara region, they were trying to enter Addis Ababa. The purpose was to start some sort of anti-government operation in Addis Ababa in the form of removal of the Prime Minister. And then we saw that checkpoints were established, checkings were intensified, and the people who were trying to enter Addis Ababa from Amhara, they were being thoroughly checked. And still this issue of extensive checkings on Amhara-Oromia border, it is continuing. Amhara people say that they're being discriminated, they're being stopped from entering Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. But apprehensions are there on the side of the government that some groups could try to enter Addis Ababa to attack the government, to remove the Prime Minister. Thirdly was church. An effort will be made, it is being made, to pit the church against the Prime Minister. Church is one of the most powerful institutions in Ethiopia. We have seen that in recent confrontation between two church groups, the church forced Ethiopian government to kneel down. Ethiopian government had to make compromise. It had to step back. Why? Because church showed unity when a group based in Oromia made appointments of some bishops. Though issue is still continuing, it could not be resolved completely. But after the church gave nationwide protest call, Ethiopian government submitted. It backed the so-called agreement between the factions at the church. It means church is one of the most powerful institutions in Ethiopia. Will church try to be part of the removal of Prime Minister? Abune Petros Abune Abraham in some media talks a few months ago said that they would not be part of any plan to topple the government. And when there was conflict in the church about Oromia issue, back then if you remember, the government warned the church should not be part of the plan to topple the government. So after that, church sidelined, church distanced itself a little. Now we're not seeing church being part of any plan, though an effort is underway, by the way. We have seen statements from some groups. They say that when church unity was in danger, it was people from the Amhara region who stood behind the church. Now it's church's turn to return the favor as Amhara people are being massacred. But so far, church is monitoring the developments silently. We have no evidence to say the church is actively backing the plan to remove the Prime Minister. Fourthly, the most importantly, these groups from the Amhara region and diaspora, they'll try to use Amhara region as a platform to remove the Prime Minister. This is perhaps the most effective strategy for these groups so far, because we have seen that, and credit goes to the government as well, Ethiopian government, which made some decisions which led to the anti-government sentiment in the region. This strategy now is being pursued wholeheartedly, that armed groups, Fano fighters, or former members of Amhara Special Force, they're being organized in thousands. A sort of large militia is being prepared. It will be armed. It will be sponsored by diaspora. Ethiopian army trying to disband this militia. Unsuccessful attempt by the army so far. We're seeing that anti-government sentiment is rising. Fano, former Amhara Special Force, regrouping. And other sections of society are now being involved as well. Like we're seeing that issue of fertilizers is being highlighted, that farmers are protesting that deliberately a supply of fertilizer and seeds to farmers is being restricted. So effort is being made to make farmers part of the anti-government movement as well. This is perhaps the only workable strategy for these groups, which is producing some results. These groups might try to launch some sort of anti-government armed movement from Amhara region to remove the Prime Minister. Though still, obviously, it will have limited result because Amhara region is not Addis Ababa. PM Abiy does not sit in Addis Ababa. But they now have realized that the only workable strategy is that Amhara region should be used as a launching pad to achieve their objectives regarding the removal of the Prime Minister. And so far, the region is in a state of disarray. We're seeing that the opposition groups, hardliners, they're trying to create unity in their ranks, which is missing. Their main problem is that these groups want to remove the Prime Minister, but they don't have any alternative. Who's leading these groups? Diaspora is split in the Amhara region. Armed forces are split too. Political forces are mostly with the government. Those who are opposition parties are part of the government as well. PP, though there are splits within the Prosperity Party, but we cannot say that Amhara PP is going to revolt. No signs there. So basically, Amhara groups are not united. They're instead of disarray, but planning is there. And lastly, Girma Shitila was assassinated. No one could have imagined a few weeks ago that he could be assassinated. Assassinations are not something new in Ethiopian politics. Assassinations happen. I am not saying that Amhara groups are planning assassination of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. I am not saying that. I have no credible information. But since this anti-PM Abiy narrative and propaganda is being spread, so no one knows what is going to happen. No one knows the intentions of a small group based in some part of the Amhara region or based abroad. Anything can happen. Overall, we can sum up that PM Abiy is not under any threat of immediate removal. He's in a strong position. But a year ago, he was being challenged from Tigray. He successfully neutralized the challenge. Now he's being challenged from the Amhara region. From Tigray, it was a united challenge. Entire Tigray was behind that challenge. In Amhara, he has partial support. Prosperity Party, ruling party in Amhara, supports the Prime Minister. So challenge in Amhara is not more menacing than the challenge in Tigray. But still it's a challenge. And government is trying to control the situation by adopting different strategies. Let's see. So far, the PM is not very vulnerable to immediate removal. That is how I see. Thank you for watching.